Good evening. We have the pleasure and the honor to host today Miss Matina Kolokotronis, Chief Operating Officer in the famous NBA team, Sacramento Kings. We are very happy to host you today. Καλησπέρα, κυρία Κολοκοτρώνη. Καλησπέρα, Ματίνα.
Kalispera Sas, thank you so much for the honor of having me on this podcast. I really appreciate it very much.
We are so looking forward to your speech. We have many questions, but before everything, we would like to hear it from you.
Thank you so much. So I want to just say how honored I am to have the opportunity to speak to some fellow Greeks. I'm very, very proud of my heritage. And I always say that I got my beginning because I am Greek. So I'm a Greek American. I was born in Chicago in a very traditional Greek family, very much like what you see in my big fat Greek wedding. I grew up with my cousins in a compound. There were 25 of us. My father is from Nistani and my mother is from Rizes. I spent all my summers in Greece. I went to Greek grammar school, Oplatona, and where I learned how to speak and read and write Greek. Actually, my first language was Greek. And I then went to high school. Was the first time I met some non-Greeks in my life. I went to college. I was dyslexic, so I struggled in school. My poor parents, because they were immigrants, the most important thing to them was that they give me a foundation and a Greek education and an American and send us to school. I unfortunately gave them a hard time, and I think that they were not really sure what to make of me. But I persevered. And I ended up going to law school. I also ended up moving to Sacramento from Chicago. I married a Greek man whose name is Kolokotronis, so I became even more Greek. And when I graduated from law school, I really didn't know what I was going to do with my life, and I ended up going to work. And then one day in 1996, I received a call that would change my life, my career, anyways. It was the general manager of the Sacramento Kings. He called me to tell me that they had drafted a Greek player whose name was Peja Stojakovic. I said that that was not a Greek name. And they needed some help with contracts. So at that point in my life, I realized that Greek school and law school had paid off. So I went to work for the Sacramento Kings. And I was in charge of translating his contracts and negotiating with the Greeks to bring Peja here. That call launched what has become a remarkable career in the NBA. 26 years, I have had the pleasure of interacting with players, seeing the world, building what is an iconic arena after we saved the team, breaking a 16-year playoff drought, and really touching the lives of so many people and finding fulfillment in what I do every single day. So I always say, but for my Greek, I would not be where I am today. Very proud of my heritage and the foundation that it gave me in life to be where I am today. I'm sorry, Vianney, you're
Such
muted.
an interesting story. Apologies. It seems almost like a fairy tale, right? But I'm quite sure that there must have been challenges in such a demanding industry and in such demanding roles that you have undertaken.
Yeah, I mean, nothing comes but for challenges, as you say. So, there were, first of all, when I was young, I never could have seen myself in this role under any circumstances. I think that when I was raised, the purpose was to get an education and to find a husband. So I checked that box, but I think my curiosity and my inability to sit still made me want to wonder, like, what else is there? So I always say, like, one of the key things that you need is a mentor, because if you don't see it, you can't become it. And I think also, for me coming into this role, there were not many women in the room when I first went into the room. And that is a challenge because, you don't see anybody that looks like you. So you don't really know, like, what does that look like? So I was lucky to have mentors in the legal field that were women, and that set the foundation for me, and that allowed me to go to where I am today. I will say also, I was incredibly lucky that David Stern, who was the commissioner at the NBA at the time, was very open and inclusive, and that really made a huge difference in my life. Now, in the course of my career, there have been obstacles to overcome, obviously. And it's not, like as I sit here today and I've been doing it for 28 years and I tell my story, everybody thinks, oh my God, that's amazing. But yeah, it's hard work. There's, we built an arena. I'm sitting in my office right now. It's $1 billion project. There were 70-hour weeks, hours that I worked a week in order to get it done. And there were times when we thought that we were not going to be able to make the deadlines, and just the day-to-day stuff that you go through. Sometimes the minutia is not pleasant, but at the end of the day, the product is so sweet. So it's worth it.
There's so many information that you're bringing in the conversation. To begin with, I had done some research, and you frequently refer to your mentors, and it always come across with so much gratitude uh, that they have come to your life. One important aspect, and I think that many of our viewers and the audience are eager to listen, is which do you consider the most important milestones? Of course, it's the phone call in 1996 that started as a milestone. But in terms of your current position, what were the milestones that led you to this journey?
I think growing up in a very traditional Greek household where education was very, very important was something that my mother especially did not have. Neither of my parents had the opportunity to go to high school when they migrated to America. And my dad owned restaurants and my mother was a stay-at-home mom. And I think there was like an underlying frustration in that. I stayed home for 1 year after I had my third child, and that was the hardest work I ever did. So I want to say it's really a difficult thing to do, to stay home. And it's the most important thing we do in my life is having a family and having children. So I don't belittle that at all. I just wanted more, and I didn't know what more looked like because, it was a very, very traditional house where my dad went to work and my mom stayed home. And I thought that, okay, that's probably where I'm going to be, but I didn't really want to be there. I wanted to see what else there was. And the opportunity to go to law school was tremendous for me. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was an English major, which is great, but you really can't do anything with it. And unless you want to teach it, I don't think I was qualified to do that. Or I would have been fulfilling to me. So going to law school really gave me an opportunity to like solve problems and obviously the reading and the writing and the critical logic skills that really set me up for success in life. And then I went to work at a law firm and I met a woman who I talk about often, Nancy Miller. She's in all of my speeches because she was to me something completely different than what I knew. I walked in and she was a named partner, which was unheard of in those days. She had 2 children, which she forgot everywhere, which I thought was hilarious. And very successful legal practice. So in that model, I saw somebody who was married, had children, and worked. And I thought, well, that gave me the opportunity to think like, okay, I can do that. And then, luck is really important, and everybody, what do you do when an opportunity comes to you? I say, because definitely that call changed my life, but it also came at a point where my oldest, Constantine, was 4, and my little daughter, who was 2 at the time, and I was pregnant. So when the phone rang, I was home on maternity leave, and I think I was 6 months pregnant. I was planning on taking some time off after Nicholas was born. And David, when Jeff Petrie explained to me what was going on, I was fascinated. He was like, we have this Greek player. He's in Greece. We can't understand what the Greeks are saying. That made sense. There were contracts they didn't know. They needed to be translated. He might be this old. He might be this, First of all, I was like, that guy is not Greek. His name is Stojakovic. He's Serbian. So that piqued my curiosity, and it was a problem, and I really wanted to solve it. So I was like, sure, I'll do it. And After I hung up the phone, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I just said I would do that. I'm on leave. So I remember that I was talking to my law firm and we started getting engaged, and I had to go to the practice facility to meet the general manager. And at the time I was 7 or 8 months pregnant. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to show up in this meeting and I haven't even told them I'm pregnant yet. So I walked into the room and there was all these guys sitting there, and they looked up and I think they were just mortified that they'd hired a lawyer that was ready to just give birth on spot. So um, I think you just have to be curious, and you have to be bold, and you have to be fearless. And I think that when opportunity presents itself, sometimes you just do it. And I think that's how I got ahead in life.
Mentoring and modeling are truly important. And this takes us to a discussion that many of the times sounds stereotypical, but I am pretty sure that you represent a model for young women who want to work in the industry, in the sports industry, as lawyers, demanding environments that are not usually and casually represented equally by the female gender. What advice or what are the general principles that you would like to share with women who want to work and succeed in this industry?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that, there's this whole principle out there that's like, lean in. And I do not ascribe to that in my life. I have not. I think that if you are trying to do everything all at once, something has to give. It's not possible. And I think that, as at the time when careers are peaking, those are the times when women are most likely to want to have a family. So there's definitely, there's a conflict there. It's just inherited, right? So there's that internal struggle, and every woman has to make her own decision. I think that it's so different from when it was. I've been doing this job for 28 years, and I just remember the first time I walked into an NBA meeting, and there are 30 teams. So there's like, a few representatives from each team, and I was really the only woman in the room. And that kind of felt different, right? It felt like I was the only one that was not like the others, but then also maybe that was an opportunity to be the only one that was not like the others. Everybody was very respectful, and I think things have changed now. There's a lot more women in the room, and in our organization, 40% of the workforce is female, and that's something that I'm really, really proud of. And 40% of my leadership is female, and that's another thing that the organization is very proud of, because diversity of ideas, it matters, and representation matters in a room. And so I think it's better. I mean, I don't know the situations in Greece, but I think that it seems like you guys have progressed even further than America on these issues. Um, but I think that if you really, really want the opportunity, you should just go for it. There shouldn't be hesitations around gender, but it also has to be specific to who you are and what you're looking for in your life.
That is very interesting. For sure, there is no 40% representation when it comes to Greek clubs. And to be fully honest, not in the senior management. The representation in such cases is even smaller. But we're paving the way, and for sure, the obstacles do not seem to be equal to the ones that you're referring, being the only woman, the only female in the room. Matina, you have been discussing about the role of the mother and being a mom to 3 kids. What would you say to your younger self? Because many of the times when we are in a situation, there is a spin off and we don't have so much time to reflect on things. And in retrospect, we could give some advice to our younger selves.
I would tell my younger self to just relax and enjoy the journey, because I think so many of us in this day and age are just looking for the next thing, right? And I think in my life, when I look back, I've had so many incredible, um, I've seen so many incredible things, and I've been in so many amazing situations. And sometimes I just have just checked the box, right? I have, I had the opportunity to go to India. We played the first inaugural game in India, the NBA game, which was amazing. And then I've been to China a few times, but often when I'm in these situations, I'm like, oh my God, what's next? What's next? And I have tried as I've gotten older to sit in those moments and have and reflect upon okay, like when we ribbon cut the building, and we were in a very, very unique situation here in Sacramento because sports teams in America do not move often. I think in Greece, they don't move at all, actually. It's very hard to move a franchise. But our franchise was, when I was president of business operations, the owners had made the decisions to move the team. So it was a really volatile time. And coming to work was terrible because every day when I came to work, there was 10 people outside of the door with resigning. We lost 2/3 of our workforce, and we really couldn't hire people because nobody wanted to go to work for a franchise that was leaving a city. And at that point, we got new ownership, and they came in and saved the team, and we had the opportunity to build this amazing building, and the building was transformational for our region. And it's something that I'm really, really proud of, and our community is really proud of. And I feel like I should have enjoyed it more. I should have enjoyed those moments of success, and I should have taken the time to sit with what we've done. You need to sit with what you've done, the successes. And I think part of it is that you're just chasing the next one. And I'm trying really hard to just be satisfied with the things that are created and then go to the next one.
What is really stopping a successful professional from enjoying the moment?
I think the chase for the next thing, right? Like there's always something. Like it's not like I come in my office and I'm like, okay, I'm going to finish this. And then there's 10 other things I have to do. So you want to stay ahead of the game, especially when you're young. I think that's because you're it's almost like you're trying to climb whatever the corporate ladder, right? And in order to do that, you're always thinking about what opportunities are around you. And you don't want to miss them. And you don't want to make sure that somebody else, so there's that game too. And I think in that game, you miss out on so much. And I wish sometimes that I don't know, when I was in Greece with Peja, I had enjoyed it a little more as opposed to been thinking about okay, now I did this, what's next, And I think one of the unique opportunities I had in my career, which I'll never forget, and is an opportunity that forced me to sit with something, was after we drafted Peja, a couple of years later, we drafted a player called Hito Turkoglu, and he was Turkish. So they were going to take a Greek to Turkey to negotiate the contract, which was kind of fun. And we got to Turkey, and they were very much like the Greeks. There were contracts missing, and negotiations that needed to be had that were not in your typical American style of negotiating. And at some point, we had to do a buyout, and the money wasn't there, so we had to take up his contract to a bank. It was very complicated, and once we were able to do that, we were in Turkey at this time. In Istanbul, and they said, well, we're going to need 7 days to clear this. So I ended up spending 7 days in Turkey with the player and the GM, and the team just kind of took us around, and it was amazing. I got to see, and it was a time where I was forced to sit with something, and I thought oh, that was a good. I mean, we achieved getting the player and bringing him to America, but I think in this day and age, social media. Everything comes at you so fast, immediate response. And your brain cannot work that fast. It needs time to process.
I hear some Greek DNA also in the negotiation style. Matina, would you say that there are aspects of the Greek culture that you have incorporated as a professional and that you have seen being different than all American colleagues?
Definitely, I would say that's the case. I think that I'm Greek. You know what I mean? I have a very strong ties to my family. Not that Americans don't. I don't want to belittle the American culture, but we are different, right? We speak a different language. Um, Philoxenia, and I think that that's really important. And I think yes, I bring a lot of that with me when I go into meetings, and I think it just ties into who I am. I'm very proud of it.
I see the flame, the Greek flame in every description, and that should be very interesting also in meetings. Uh, Matina, you have been discussing how your leadership is represented also by a large proportion of female colleagues. Are there any other initiatives? I have been hearing you discussing about female coaches also in NBA and how this sets the pace for a new era. Are there any specific initiatives that you follow in Sacramento Kings to increase the level of diversity and female representation?
Yes, so we do have a diversity inclusion council in our organization, and we are very thoughtful. I mean, I'd like to say that I think because I've dealt with Greek teams, and I did notice that like it's all men, and obviously all white men because all of Greece is white. So it's a we have a different issue here too in America, right? Because we have race that we have to consider too. So I think you know we have a huge our businesses are there's the basketball side and there's a business side, and the business side is where you will see initially more opportunities for women when I first started anyways, right? Like in some, and I don't want to say like, and this is not a bias thing, but like, in HR and PR, but now like also in analytics. So as that has grown, we have seen such an increase of the female population in the business. On the basketball, it's just been harder to break into, but having the business thing and then having that model where we work together jointly with basketball operations, it's really, we've had 3 or 4 female coaches that have been on our basketball staff right now. And our owner's daughter is the general manager of the G League. So once you have that, you are more inclined, whether you like it or not, to hire people that look like you and that act like you. And it's unconscious bias. So in my office, I have a VP of experience, and her name is Sophia Kazanis. My personal assistant is Kant Manolakis. Our VP of player development is Penny Panayotachatis. There's a lot of Greeks in the organization. Now, if you said to me, what is that about? I would say it's because I'm part of a Greek community, right? And I go to church and I know it's the people I know. So when positions become available, I'll be like, oh, go ahead and interview. Now, they don't always get it, but there's just an unconscious bias there. So I think it's important that we stand back and we look at those biases, everybody, and we think about like what's good for the organization. Would it be good if I walked in here and there were 1,000 people running the Sacramento Kings that are Greek? Probably not, right? So we need to be more conscious. Maybe the Greeks would like that, right? But we need to be more conscious in our hiring. So over time, you learn how to do that without being discriminatory in the other way. I have boys. I don't want my boys to not get a job because they're white males, right? You want to have an organization that's balanced, and that brings you diversity of ideas to the table. I remember when I first came to work here, we were in a marketing meeting. This was so many years ago, I can't even remember. And it was just all white males and me. And we were talking about the buying power of a family, and the buying power of discretionary income in families is controlled by women at that time, right? So why are we having 10 males talk about what works? Wouldn't it be great to get a stay-at-home mom's opinion as to what she's going to put her extra money towards? So these are the conversations when you realize that it's not just meeting numbers, it's really about growing your business in the right and smart way.
That is very interesting, and I I would like to emphasize the avoidance of discrimination on the other way. But for the European culture, especially the Greek culture, currently in sports, which is mostly soccer and basketball dominated, we're I have to admit that we're some steps behind in terms of reaching the controversy of the opposite discrimination. Um, in this conference and overall in our degree in sports management, we are trying to also emphasize the importance of sports for society. And we are particularly interested on learning the best practices and benchmarks of organizations who help and are sensitive towards the society. Would you like to share your club's initiatives for society and the way that you're approaching this topic?
Yes, yes. We're very lucky. American sports teams speak and people listen. Athletes have a huge voice in our society. And it's really important to our owner, Vivek, and to me that, this platform is used for doing good. So we have an underlying premise that we will use the platform to do good and to make the world a better place, which is a grand statement, right? But if you start that way, you can start from the little things that you do within your community, which right now we're do something called the season of giving, which is tied to Christmas. And we will go out and we will go into underprivileged communities and we will serve and we will donate. And we have a very, very strong community department within our organization that does stuff like that. To larger things like the NBA, because of our leadership, part of our leadership is that we formed a social justice committee, and that looks at some of the discriminations that Black people face within our community, which is very, obviously not something that you see in Greece the way we do, I think, but the police issue and the police enforcement what the Blacks are going up against the whites. So the platform can be used to do good. And in our organization, we try to do that. We really try to work on issues like community. We also work on sustainability for the environment. And we try to do, like, one of the things that we have is the food within the arena, which is, I would like to have you guys come and try it because it's very, very good. It's probably the best of any arena in America. And I stand by that. One of the reasons is because we source 90% of our food from a 100-mile radius of Sacramento. So everything is fresh. We are the farm to fork capital of the world. And it's good because it also helps reduce carbon emissions in the world because everything is being sourced locally. So those are the kind of platforms that we take on and we don't shy away. So is it sustainability? Yes. Is it technology that we put a program together to help underprivileged neighborhoods learn how to code. So once a year, we have like a coding competition. We bring all the kids in. Obviously, I don't know how to code, so I find myself just watching. But these are the kind of things that we will do when we take on something. We will figure out how do we take this into our community and how do we elevate everybody.
It sounds that you touch upon very important societal, environmental issues, and the coding is particularly interesting as an inception in terms of inclusion in the demands of future advancements. And that takes me to a question with regards to what you have been discussing before about social media and the instant gratification and the fast pace that is being followed. And we're probably have entered or entering, we're lagging some years here in Greece, a new era in sports that comes with different directions. What do you see as the most important advancements? You have been discussing the stadium, which was a big trend 20 and 15 years ago, the facilities. What are the future directions for sports?
It's unbelievable what I have seen in the 30 years that I have been doing this, the 28 years that I've been at the team, from the fact that, think about like, I remember there were typewriters and there was faxes. So you couldn't even send a document. You had to like fax it. Fax was a big thing because before that you had to put it in an envelope and send it. And it took like a week for somebody to get it in order for them to respond. And then we went to this thing called email. And now we have like instant gratification, and I think the experience in the arena has changed so much. Our arena will check into you. And when you come, we have mapped it so that when you're coming to the arena, the traffic lights change in order to minimize traffic so that when you get here, it's a seamless experience and you don't need a ticket anymore, right? Everything's on your phone. You just check in. As you're sitting at the game, you get specials that are personalized to you, what you want. So I feel like we're just getting better at giving our customer what they want before they even know that they want it. And with regards to basketball operations, it's unbelievable the amount of technology that is used in order to support the team and the players to make them better. I mean, obviously, they're such incredible assets in the way they work and they take care of their bodies. So now we have like nutritionists and we have, every single player, everything is customized for them and their needs. So I think we're just going to be seeing more of that.
Thank you so much for sharing the trends. Knowing the customer and offering the customer what they want before they want it. It's particularly intriguing, especially for me who I am interested in sports marketing and marketing overall. Where does this stop though?
Well,
Where
listen,
does value adding stop?
yes, there's a privacy issue, probably is what you're thinking about. And you opt in. You opt in to share your information. And if you don't want to share it, you don't have to. And I think that is, I'm not a person who likes to receive so many offers. So I'm very careful about my filters and what I take in. But then there's other people that obviously love it and they want to be treated that way.
And it's going to be getting harder and harder to forecast the demands before our customers know it, right?
Yes. Yeah. And also there's also the knowing what they want before they know it. And then also all the new stuff that we have that people don't even know is out there. So you wouldn't know unless you had these offers coming towards your way.
Of course. Matina, apart from the professionals who follow front runners in sports management, we have a student body that are very interesting in starting their careers, crafting their careers in sports management. So what would you say that are the skills required for a young professional to succeed in this industry and maybe pursue an international career, reach the NBA level?
I think education is key. Having, that is a foundation. Secondly, I always say, because when I speak, I always say like, internships are great. Applying for those and casting a wide net is very important. Being direct and specific in where you want to be, and thinking about like a long-term plan for yourself. Now, I say that, but I accidentally fell into my role, so you just never know, right? And then I did a really good job of kind of navigating the system. But nobody, if somebody had told me that I would be in professional sports, I would have been like, not me. But I think education, a foundation, curiosity, internships, and I mean, obviously taking classes like, is this a class, Sports Management 5.0, or is this a class that people are taking right now?
It is a conference, but it's also
Okay.
communicated to our students. And many of the times we use specific interviews or round tables as case studies in class and extend the knowledge and the practice for them.
Evgenia, is this with Drury College, the students you're talking about? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So I went to Dewey for 1 year.
Really?
Yes, I'm a student. I loved it. It was amazing. And I was,
Breaking news.
yes, breaking news. I'm not an alumni, but I did go there for a year when I was in college, and I absolutely had the time of my life. It was incredible.
Now we have to invite you back to full circle the experience.
Oh, I would love that. I really will tell you that it was transformative for me. I was an English major, and I don't know how I convinced my parents to take a year and go live in Greece, and continue my education there. But they said yes, and I did it. And I didn't want to come home. My father made me come home. I would have stayed there, but anyways, that's a different story.
Probably for the best. I think your dad was somewhat right.
Yeah, who knows? I loved it anyways, and I made some good friends from there. So I saw it on the briefing document this morning, and I thought, oh, I should check and see if it's Dewey. So it is.
Yes, and now we are expanding the network of study abroad students. So I will share the news in my class that we once had Matina Kolokotroni
Yes, as a student.
studying here,
Yes. Yes.
and take some credit on this. Matina, one last question. We have discussed the skills, and I understand that the academic preparation, which is quite Greek, but it's also what we teach our students, that this is the bottom threshold. You need to have very high academic preparation, and then, of course, cultivate all the soft skills. Is there any advice that you would share with the female students that aspire for the same career? Is there something special that you would like to mentoring and including, in their mindset as an advice?
You know, I think I've said to be bold before in my life and to be curious. And I think that those things served me very well, and to be fearless. I mean, I think that I probably shouldn't have taken that call, when I took it. And I might have been able to say that, what would have said, you know what, I'm home and I'm going to have my third child, and let me refer you to somebody. But my curiosity got the best of me. And I thought it was, I love solving problems. I still love, one of the biggest things I do in this organization is our so-called crisis management, which really just comes down to solving problems. It's like doing a puzzle for me. I love it. And I get such satisfaction when I've actually solved the problem puzzle. So I think being curious and being bold, and moving and pushing forward, and knowing that, sometimes it's going to take more than one time or two times. You just have to keep knocking on the door. So that's, and obviously I always subscribe to my luck. So everybody has it at some point. You'll get your lucky break.
As long as you knock on the door, right?
Yes. Put yourself in the right positions is very, very important, and in the right rooms, which is why this is a little take off to my pet peeve lately. But, I know that the pandemic changed the way we work. And I know that people don't want to go to work every day, and they want to work remote. And I can appreciate that. And, I sometimes get angry because I think about, like, why didn't I have that opportunity when my kids were little to stay home, right? Not stay home, but like to have that work-life balance. And at some point, I did have to take a step back in my career. I was in legal at the Kings. And at some point, I had finally said, I'm not going to do legal. I'm going to do community, because community was more flexible. So I took a step back, but that allowed me then to learn about the business, which allowed me to become president. So it just was choices that I made in my life. And I think that the way you learn sometimes is being in rooms with people. And if we're all home, we're not able to have that human contact. And it's hard because we were remote, and then we went to 2 weeks to 2 days, and then we went to 3. And when we went to 4, boy, were people angry, right? And part of it is that, we're in an experience business. And I also think for the younger students, workers, employees, more than me, that being in a room, like me being able to watch the way David Stern managed the other owners, I've learned so much from that. Me being in a room and realizing when somebody was talking that was senior to me that, oh, that's an opportunity for me. So I'm going to be able to loop back to that person and ask them about it. Those are the things that are intangible. So I don't know why I wanted to talk about that, but I just feel like when you're talking to students, sometimes they really want to, the first question they have is like, is it remote? And I don't know how good that is.
Uh, Especially our students that now are in their senior years have gone through those 3 years of consecutive lockdowns and online classes. And to be fully honest, is maybe how you started the conversation. You cannot know something that you have not seen.
Yeah, probably all the students are getting off right now saying, oh, I don't want to hear that. Enough. Yeah.
Matina, I cannot thank you enough for this wonderful, fruitful, insightful, and inspiring conversation. I couldn't have asked for any better interaction. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here with us tonight. And we're looking forward to hosting you at ACG again and coming back to your study abroad semester.
Thank you.
Thank you
Evgenia,
so much.
thank you. You have been a delightful host. I have really enjoyed my time. I love to read, so I would love to do that. And also, please come see us in Sacramento. Okay, that's an open invitation to you. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much. Have a
Bye.
good night.
Εντάξει, ευχαριστούμε. Καλό βράδυ.